All right, guys, welcome. We're going to be talking about Canada today. Canada has a incredibly interesting geography. They're an incredibly large country. However, they're not that populated. And when thinking about that, what might be some of the reasons for that? Well, we'll look here at some of their provinces and territories, and you'll notice they're pretty far north. And as we know, the further away from the equator you get, the colder it becomes. And you have some parts here that are so far north, they're touching the top of Greenland. Um, Most people in Canada, as you'll learn today, live on the border of the United States. Not a lot of people live up here in the Northwest Territories or the Yukon or none of it. Uh, most people live down here along the border. And again, part of that is because of how cold it is. Part of it also has to do with the economy. The United States trades a lot with Canada, so obviously it's easier when you're trading a lot with the U.S. It's easier to be closer to the United States. All right, so Canada is kind of similar to the United States. We speak similar languages. However, one language that you will hear a lot in Canada is actually French. In order to serve on the government in Canada, you have to speak both French and English. The reason for that is there are uh, provinces in Canada where the main language that is spoken is French. There are also provinces in Canada where the main language spoken is English. It just depends on what province or territory you're talking about. So Canada is divided into 13 political units. The United States has 50 states. Canada has 13 political units similar to our states. They do not call them states, however, though. They call them provinces. And then when it is so scarcely populated, they call it a territory. So, to put it in perspective, the three territories of Canada are up here: the Northwest Territory, Nunavut, and the Yukon. Those are the three territories. And there are less than 1 million people that live in those three territories. So, to kind of break it down even further, you could take the entire city of Kansas City, Belton, Raymore, Lee Summit, Raytown, Kansas City, parts of Kansas, Overland Park, and the amount of people that live in this little area here is more than all the people that live in these three territories. So there's not a lot of people that live up there. Okay, so provinces, similar to states, they have 10 provinces and they have 3 territories. So the provinces and territories are grouped into 4 regions. You have the Atlantic, Core, Prairie, and British Columbia territories. Prairie kind of runs off our Great Plains. The Great Plains kind of run up on into part of Canada. You'll also notice, hopefully later on, that the Rocky Mountains also kind of run up into Canada as well. So similar geographic features that we have, they also have as well. So the Atlantic provinces here include Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island. You have the Appalachian Mountains, which we talked about here in the United States. They run from Georgia all the way up through Maine, right? Most people consider them to kind of end at Mount Katahdin up in Maine. However, some of them do extend up into the Atlantic province. This area is very bad for farming. Um, the soil is rocky, and so not a lot of farming happens here. They do have many ports, so there's a lot of shipping that comes in through here. Um, so we need to talk real briefly about the Canadian Shield. It's this horseshoe-shaped plateau in Canada. Glaciers essentially took the soil and left exposed rock everywhere. It's too barren for it to really grow anything. It looks like this here in this image. And the Canadian Shield kind of runs right around here, kind of around the Hudson Bay almost. But you can see all these little scars like dimples. That was caused by the glaciers. They carved out a huge chunk of land, and there was some ice that got left behind, and then it formed a lake. So there's an example of the Canadian Shield. The core provinces include Quebec and Ontario. These are the most densely populated provinces. It includes Toronto, Montreal, Calgary, all located here. You may have heard of some sports teams from there, right? The Toronto Raptors or something like that. Obviously, basketball is big up in Canada. Baseball is big up there as well. The king of all the sports, however, is hockey. It's just cold, so you have a lot of frozen ponds. People go indoors to ice skate and play hockey. So ice skating is a huge sport up there. So this is bordered. The core provinces are bordered by many bodies of water. You have the Hudson Bay. It is the large inland bay. It looks like this. It's absolutely massive. And that little island there are people that live on that island. And if you go down in Google Earth, you can actually kind of go through the town. And if you go into their store, they have polar bears hanging up on the walls. It's kind of cool. But polar bears are a problem up here for a lot of the people because they're in a lot of these areas and they're very dangerous. Okay, you have the Hudson Bay. We have the St. Lawrence River. The St. Lawrence River is incredibly important because it is a seaway. The St. Lawrence River, essentially, you can't. My screen's blocking it. Let me move that. Okay, it kind of runs right through here. Okay, the St. Lawrence Seaway allows people to get from the Atlantic Ocean all the way out through here into the Great Lakes. So you can travel from the ocean all the way to Wisconsin if you wanted to, technically. All right, let's keep it pushing here. You have the Great Lakes. Yep, talked real briefly about that. There's an example of it. Then we get the Prairie Provinces. So right below these are Great Plains. So right below these core provinces, or these Prairie Provinces, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta, you have Montana, Minnesota, and North Dakota right below these. And if you remember, the Great Plains run through those states. So it just keeps running up on into Canada. It's mainly flat. Flat areas are incredibly excellent for farming. This is one of the major farming regions of Canada. This does border the Canadian Rockies because, I mean, you think about our Rockies, they run through part of Montana and part of Idaho. They run right along, right about here. So here's part of Montana here. Here's Idaho, right up and through here. Beautiful area, beautiful area. Here's an example that you might see in, I believe this is from Banff. However, this is in the Canadian Rockies. If you go up to parts of Montana, it looks very similar to this. Glacier National Park, if you've never heard of it, check it out. It borders Canada. It's about 10 miles maybe away from Canada. It looks very similar to this. It's absolutely gorgeous. Okay, so the British Columbia territories. So the provinces slash territories, British Columbia right here. It includes the Canadian Rockies. We have dense forests in here. You have lots of bears in here, grizzly bears mainly. In the Yukon, you have the Northwest Territories, two of Canada's largest lakes, the Great Bear and the Great Slave Lake. The largest river is the Mackenzie River. Then you have Nunavut. It is home to many native groups. It is incredibly rocky and many Arctic islands. However, remember, these territories here, Yukon, Northwest Territory, and Nunavut, those are three territories. Not a lot of people are living there. Okay, you have lots of bears up there. You have lots of cold weather up there. It's a tough area to live at. So the climate of Canada, in the north, it is sparsely populated. You have lots of tundra, meaning it is kind of like, imagine the Great Plains, imagine Kansas flat, except you don't have lots of wheat everywhere or corn. You have more shrubs everywhere and not a lot of trees. It is incredibly cold. It's very close to the North Pole. It fluctuates in sunlight. So, for example, right now in northern Canada, they're getting about 2 to 4 hours of sunlight. The sun is coming up about at 11 o'clock and it's going back down at about 2 to 3 o'clock. Here in about a few weeks, the sun's not going to come out at all. They're going to have a month of essentially darkness. It's going to be dark every day. However, the opposite is also true during the summertime because they're so far north. When the sun comes back up in our summertime, they'll have 24 hours of sunlight, meaning you could go outside, have a pool party at 3 o'clock in the morning, and it's bright as day. You would never know. Anyway, here we have the climate. It's obviously, you can read about that, very cold. Resources, you can read through that, and there's the quick quiz. Okay, so let's quickly talk about the history of Canada. So Canada's first inhabitants, these are people that came over from Asia, and they kind of stayed in the area. They came over most likely by a land bridge, maybe a boat, we're not entirely sure. However, in 1490s, you got the explorer John Cabot. He landed on the coast of Newfoundland and claimed it for England. Some British who came to Canada also came to trade fur, but most of them came with their families. In 1534, French explorer Jacques Cartier claimed the land at the mouth of the St. Lawrence River for France. And all of a sudden, now you're starting to see why so many French people up there speak French. Many of the French who came to Canada were single men who wanted to grow rich by trading fur. Fur such as beaver skins or bear pelts, things like this. The two nations, England and Britain, both fought in the French and Indian War, and ultimately Britain got a lot of the land. Under British rule, fighting will break out. There's some more wars. What's interesting is the Queen is on Canadian money, the Queen of England. She doesn't really rule Canada, but she is on their money. It's kind of complicated. The people of England or the people of Canada voted for that to happen in like the 50s or something. After the war, French speakers in Quebec outnumbered the English speakers, but the population of the English speakers slowly grew. After the Revolutionary War, thousands of loyalists loyal to the British crown moved up into Canada. So we have this incredibly diverse group of English and French speaking people in Canada. Canada is technically self-governed by themselves. They have a prime minister. Last I checked, it was Justin Trudeau. Justin Trudeau is chosen by the governor general, and the prime minister gets to choose who their governor general is. So it's kind of messed up, right? The prime minister gets to choose who elects him, and vice versa. It's interesting. It's interesting to look into. Canada and the U.S. get along very, very well. We do border with them, and we sell a lot of things to them. Technically, they're a constitutional monarchy. However, the Queen of England really has no power there. She doesn't do anything. The real power in Canada is held by the Prime Minister and Governor General, who kind of is the head of Parliament, essentially. You can read about that. So that's Canada. Hope you guys learned something.